I don't know why Univision played a role in that. I'm with him. I get the idea of speaking to new audiences, and I'm for that in a general election. But I don't think that it helped last night. I don't think there was a Republican voter that saw not one of the questions that was asked last night. DACA, CRT is something that a Republican voter in any state is saying, gosh, I'm glad I know that now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that it really was, I heard your conversation, it really was distracting. There were too many moderators up there, and the questions they were geared more toward a general electorate, not toward the primary voters. And if what we want to do is make sure that primary voters are voting, that people are voting in a primary, we need to hone in on those issues that are important to them. And those, it's not that they're not important, but that's not what we talk about, right? When we have, record high inflation and an economy in the tank and open borders and crime on our streets, there's so many other things we need to talk about.
So, Chairman Ayer, I want to ask you this: for the folks that are voting in New Hampshire, what issues do you think that they wanted to hear about and maybe didn't hear about last night, or do you think it was covered?
Yeah, I think they tried to cover it with Fox Business with the economy. But, we're back to it's the economy stupid, I think, where the economy is driving a lot. And the second thing that's kind of, unnatural is the border. We're a northern state. We have a northern border. It's only 52 miles. But we still see smugglers from Mexico bringing people in from Canada. And it's a problem that is getting bigger all the time. So the border, and they did address that somewhat, and the economy seem to be the two highest issues in New Hampshire. In some of the cities, it's crime and homelessness. And in the suburbs, it tends to be taxes and then education. Those seem to be the four issues. But again, it's suburb versus city. It depends where you live.
Let's get into candidates for a second. Who do you think, if anyone, stood out last night? Jennifer, I'll start with you.
Well, I mean, I think Nikki Haley does, right? Because she just seems like she's the adult in the room, and she, I think she had a great one-liner. I think Chris Christie with his Donald Duck comment, as off as it was and definitely calculated, it was kind of funny. But I think at the end of the day, it was Donald Trump. He wasn't in the room. He wasn't there. And everyone wanted him on stage. Every single person on that stage wanted Donald Trump in there. And I think that is why his numbers keep being where they are.
Chris, do you think that anyone made any ground, especially in your state of New Hampshire? Was that a push last night? Was that just sort of, maybe we rearranged the deck chairs a little, but do you think anybody actually is going to move, especially in New Hampshire?
Yeah, it didn't seem like anyone had a breakout.
Right.
To separate them from the field. They're all great Republicans. They're all great candidates. We like them all, but nobody seemed to break out where they're going to become that challenger. I think some of them had some very good moments. Governor DeSantis looked more statesmanlike. Nikki Haley had some very good points. Tim Scott. Governor Burgum, surprisingly, most people don't know him, but when he talks, people say, oh, he seems like a legitimate.
But you know what I don't get? And I agree with you. I thought Burgum actually had some good points about what his record was in North Dakota. Here's what I thought was interesting. I hosted a show for 3 years at Newsmax, right? Not once. Now, I could go back and check with my team back then, but I don't believe once Doug Burgum or his team reached out and said, we'd like to come on. Not just my show. I don't remember him ever appearing on Newsmax. Now, here's my point. If you're even thinking of running for president, why wouldn't you have been doing conservative media and getting out there and talk about the success story of North Dakota? I'm with you. I hear a lot of the stuff that he's done on education, some of the stuff that he's done on business, and I go, wow, that's a great story. But where were you for the last, he's in his second term. And I kind of look at a guy that's smart and business savvy and to say, if you didn't bother to do a bunch of interviews before or visit New Hampshire, did he visit New Hampshire prior to announcing?
Not that I'm aware of.
Right. So I look at it and I go, hey, I'm sorry that you're not doing better. But DeSantis was traveling around doing Reagan Lincoln Day dinners, courting donors. Nikki, same thing. She had a PAC. I don't feel bad for the guy. I actually feel like it's too bad he didn't get out there earlier. But I don't know how you decide to run for president and you don't hit the circuit or test the waters before and think you're just going to buy it. Jennifer?
I can just tell you, we're already hearing from people who are thinking about running in 2028. And so, it's not too early to start, just to meet the people and understand the groundwork. So I don't know what goes into his calculations. I did go to North Dakota. It's my 50th state, and they sent me a T-shirt.
That's nice.
So that was kind of, it's a pretty well-run state, but I don't know why, and unless he genuinely wasn't planning on running for president until recently.
Jennifer, I get that, right? I get it. He might not have, but if you're going to turn it on, then don't be all in a tizzy about the criteria. I don't. It's like saying, "Hey, I didn't know that I wanted to run the marathon next week, and now I can't finish it because it's 26.2 miles. They should shorten it." That's not the marathon's point. The race organizer's problem. It's your problem for not training for it.
Absolutely. I thought it was really interesting. So I try to pick up on all the cues of what the candidates are saying. And all I took away from that debate with Doug Burgum is that he was running for another term as governor.
That's right.
Of North Dakota, right? It sounded like he was out there and that was his campaign, was that he was running for governor. Maybe he wants to be a United States senator. I don't know. But it just seemed like he just kept reiterating his experience as governor, but without translating it as to how that would appeal to an American population, over 300 million people across the United States from his one little state. And so I don't discount his experience, business, and as a governor. But it just felt like he was running for governor again. And he was trying to, be the kid in the classroom. Ooh, look at me. Look how smart I am. Look how much information I can say. But I just didn't feel that it was on the presidential level.
Well, I agree. I think the thing that I thought was interesting to your point was he did a great job as a Chamber of Commerce, supporter, saying, here's why you should visit North Dakota, maybe have your business or raise your family there. But in contrast to Governor DeSantis, who kept saying this is, Florida's the model for this, and here's what we've done. I don't think that Burgum connected what he's able to accomplish to why he wants to be president. And I think for a lot of people, they probably agree with what you said, Jennifer, which was, great. Maybe I'll tell someone to move there, but I don't know that I think that you're making the case to be president.
We've got a great mix of Republicans. We've got a deep bench that the Democrats don't have anything. So I think if we come together when this is over, we should have a great November.